Welcome to Simply Happy Conversation, a podcast that teaches you how to create a clutter-free, functional, and simply happy life. I'm Narelle King, a professional organizer who supports families with practical steps to simplify their lives and create a more organized home. I'm passionate about supporting neurodivergent families and individuals like myself. Every fortnight, I also share guest conversations with experts passionate about the future of our home, health, and the planet. These conversations will provide you with actionable takeaways to create a more organized and happy life. Do you struggle to get something done, like put your shoes away because the baskets are too small, so you need to sort the shoes or go to the shop to get a bigger basket? And then what do you do with the other basket? And if you move that basket, you'll need to clean the floor and the mop is broken, so you need a new mop. And then the whole floor, because why would you just do a small bit? And then you'd have to put everything up to mop the floor. Today on the podcast, I'm talking with Dr. Matt from the Neurodiversity Collective. He's a clinical psychologist who specializes in working with neurodivergent people. He will discuss why neurodivergent individuals can find organizing so difficult because of things like galaxy brain, which I explained before, and then that lily pad train. He'll also share strategies like body doubling to help you with actionable takeaways to get organized. This conversation is a video recording that you can also watch on YouTube. Let's jump into this Simply Happy guest conversation. Today on Simply Happy Conversations, I'm talking with Dr. Matt, and he's from the Neurodivergent Collective. He's a clinical psychologist and he works with neurodivergent individuals. And so today on the podcast, he's going to be talking about why neurodivergent people might find organization so difficult, and also share with us why body doubling can be a really great thing to use and why our brains like body doubling. Welcome, Matt. Dr. Matt.
Well, thanks for having me. And I know I've told this to you before, but I'll say again, your accent is spectacular.
Thanks.
Just takes me back to when I lived in New South Wales, but we're not here to memory lane this podcast. So neurodivergent people with different brains, it's a great number of things, from gifted to ADHD to autistic to OCD, dyslexic. And one of the things that we can draw across basically every single type of neurodivergence is weaker prefrontal cortex functioning. So the prefrontal cortex is the very front part of your brain, and that's where executive functioning skills are. So that's where like time management, organization, scheduling, follow through, task initiation, task completion, that's where all that stuff comes from. So if that part of the brain comes online a little slower and develops a little slower, what you're going to find is people who are otherwise very intelligent and capable constantly losing their keys, or like, why did I come into this room? Or, where are my glasses? I need to find my glasses. I need to wear my glasses to find my glasses. And, you've got these brains that can whip information around super quickly. But if the prefrontal cortex is the brake system on the car, the brakes are weak. And so the information plows right through the stop sign and causes a 4-car pileup.
Yeah, that's me. You're explaining, especially that 4-car pileup at the end. Yes, the keys example, especially in the morning when you're getting ready and everything's all set up in the car and we're ready to go. And then where's the keys? And everything then falls apart.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, and I pick my examples because I know my audience, right? Like, even this morning I was like, where the heck is my other shoe? Where is it? And then it's like, why is one shoe by the door where it's supposed to be? The other one is in the living room. Yeah. I don't know.
You got distracted in between going and putting one away, isn't it? And then something else caught your attention. So I relate completely to it. So just to get to know you a little bit, Dr. Matt, what would be, if you were, say, a Ken doll and you had 2 accessories to come with, what would those 2 accessories be that you enjoy? Maybe gives us a bit of insight into your hobbies and things you like to do.
So the first one would be a frisbee.
Oh, really? You're into frisbee golf?
Frisbee golf, ultimate frisbee, just throwing a frisbee around. Frisbee is great because you can play it anywhere, and you don't need like a pitch or really a uniform to play it. Like, I've watched them play Aussie rules football, you need a whole uniform, and you need the ball, and you need this the crazy oval pitch with the things. Like, yeah, like you can't play AFL anywhere. But as long as you have a frisbee, you can throw a frisbee. So frisbee's universal. Bring that anywhere I go. That's one. Second thing is an iced coffee, because I need my caffeine, and I'm fine with hot coffee. My local place when I lived in Coogee was, once I learned what a flat white was, I ordered it every morning. And I lived there for months before they told me they made iced coffee. And I was like, months, people, but that's fine. So an iced coffee in one hand and a frisbee in the other, and you've got a pretty happy Dr.
Oh, fantastic. What's the difference between the hot and the cold? So you're more sensory seeking towards cold things rather than the hot coffee?
Always have been. But it's that plus like this more like more of a taste thing. Like hot coffee is delicious. Cold coffee is delicious. Lukewarm coffee is gross. Slightly less cold coffee is not gross. And since I'm a parent and a psychologist, I am rarely ever drinking the hot drink when it's hot. So like the iced coffee that sits in my mug all day, that's like, even if it gets slightly less cold, it's still cold. But like when the coffee gets that like film on the top because it's like lukewarm. So it's both like when I was a kid, my dad would, when we go on long car trips, my dad said we could each pick one candy for the road. And my sisters would get like a chocolate bar. And I would get a box of Jawbreakers, because in my head, logically, that's going to last me the longest amount of time. Because my sister would eat the Milky Way bar or the Mars bar by the time they're out of the parking lot. But I'm like, these Jawbreakers are going to last me a while. So that was very logical.
So yes, you were always problem solving and thinking ahead, even as a young kid.
Looking for those angles. What can I tell you?
So tell us about the strengths then that you bring to your business and as a work, because you do work with neurodivergent people majority of the time, don't you?
Well, and I lead with my neurodivergence, right? I mean, I'm gifted in ADHD, and and there's an authenticity that comes with leading with that, because you can say to somebody, I know what it's like to be smarter than your teachers. And they get that. They're like, yes, I am smarter than my teachers. I'm like, I know you are. And you're probably not shy of telling them, which is why they're always mad at you. And but it's not just about being smart. It's about the executive dysfunction or the emotional intensity, or how sometimes it just feels like nobody gets you or understands you. And it's because your brain is so different. So having someone you can bounce ideas off who gets your experience goes an awfully long way. Yeah.
And I find that the same as a professional organizer who's neurodivergent, who works with other neurodivergent clients. They're like, oh, finally someone understands me, gets me. If I explain that coffee, because they're always drinking a cold coffee because they've made it. And I'd say, why don't we try and sort of design somewhere in your kitchen where everything's there, so when you go to get that spoon you don't forget and only the coffee's half made. So yes, I do completely relate. When you work with someone who's got lived experience, it does go a long way, doesn't it?
Oh, so long. And it can just make all the difference in the world. I mean, there's an idea within the neurodivergent community, specifically autistic people, that no conversations about us should happen without us. And I think for broader neurodivergence, like I'm going to take organization tips from somebody with ADHD, because I know if they found something that works, it's pretty much battle tested, right? Like this isn't like, oh, just use a planner. Like, bro, you think I haven't tried to use a planner? Come on. Like, have you tried writing it down? Oh my God, have I tried writing it down? But like if you programmed a robot to follow you around and say, you have to leave for the store in 10 minutes. You have to leave for the store in 7 minutes. You have to leave for the store in 3 minutes. And that robot works for you. Well, then I'm going to look at that robot, because, if it comes from somebody in the community, it carries a little bit more weight.
Definitely. And it's those minor little tweaks to it that actually work, don't they? That you go, yes, if I had have just put that planner here, rather than just where it would normally you think it would be, it might be, oh, that might work. And if I use it maybe in my car, maybe that's where it's going to work. So yeah, I love that. So with your business, what's been one of your toughest decisions that you've had to make?
well, one of the toughest decisions I've had to make was hiring more people. And that may not sound like a hard decision, but I never planned to get this big. So that's been okay, sure, that's a thing that's happening. But also, like, I mean, I'm a gifted kid. We just work harder. We don't ask for help. We don't do group projects. We just have to put on another cup of coffee and just work harder. And it got to the point where my waiting list was 6 months long, and I was like triple booking people, hoping somebody would cancel. That I was like, I just can't keep doing this to myself. Like, so it was hard to reach out and raise my hand and say, like, I can't do this the way I want to do it. I need to bring other people on board to be successful.
And to reach more people and have your message shared, which is, ultimately what we want to be doing, isn't it? Helping as many people as we can, but, not spreading ourselves so thin that we can't help everyone to the same level that we want.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
You can't.
If we don't take care of ourselves, we're
yeah. So talk about body doubling. What is body doubling? Because some people will be like, what is it? And they do it without even realizing, like myself included. All my life, I have done it without realizing until I knew what it was. And so it's a nice wake-up call to go, oh, that's why I used to do this, but I didn't know why I was doing it.
Well, it's like I have a lot of clients who are going to university right now. And I say, like, you're going to find friends to go to football games with and to parties with and even to eat lunch with, because you leave class, you just walk by the cafeteria. What someone is truly a friend when they'll go to the pharmacy with you, when they'll go grocery shopping with you, when they'll do laundry with you. Like, those are the sort of things, because the presence of another person anchors us to the moment and the thing we're supposed to be doing in a way that counting on your own prefrontal cortex to regulate that is going to be less successful. And I can't tell you how many times therapy sessions for me end up with me saying to one of my kids, like, hey, listen, when was the last time you did laundry? And they're like, 4 to 5 weeks ago. I'm like, all right, put a load in right now. We're going to keep talking, right? They're like, oh, I'll just do it when we're done. I'm like, you won't, though. You won't, because as soon as my face goes away from your computer, you'll move on to the next thing. And I was like, trust me, this is therapeutic, right? And, even just the presence of someone with you keeps your brain from going on walkabout. And then you've got that reinforcement thing of, cool, the hard part's over. Now I get to spend more time with my friend. It's kind of a win-win.
Yeah. So with people do you find that neurotypical people would use body doubling without them realizing they're doing it, or not so much?
I mean, I think they do. I mean, I think that most things are more fun with other people. And we're relatively social creatures, so we like company. The thing with, I think this is the difference between neurotypical and neurodivergent, is a neurotypical person may not want to, but they can do it. A neurodivergent person wants to, but they may not be able to do it. Right? Like, I can't tell you how many times I've sat with a kid and been like, I just need to start this paper. I just need to start this paper. I can't start this paper. And there's that panic, right? And when adults in schools or businesses are like, well, everybody's got stuff they don't want to do. It's like, absolutely. All 8 billion people on this planet have stuff they don't want to do. But the difference between them and us is that when we go to flex that muscle, the muscle's not there, right? Like, that's what makes this, a wholly different thing. So somebody who's neurodivergent might need body doubling to go to the doctor's office because they can't overcome their barriers on their own.
And there's also that difference between the chemicals and neurotransmitters as well, isn't it? Between a neurotypical, neurodivergent person who that also is part of a problem and part of the barrier, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And so can you tell us then why neurodivergent people find organising then so difficult? Like, you have touched on the prefrontal cortex, but maybe just go into a little bit more detail as to why someone like myself finds it really soothing and it's my special interest and I really enjoy it and can do it really well. But whereas other people find it so difficult, like they just don't even know where to start when you walk in the room.
Well, I think that's you named the thing, right? Like our brains tend to see things in the biggest possible iteration of them. So it's like, I can't just put my shoes in the basket. I have to go to the store, buy a new basket, then throw the old basket away, then mop where the basket used to be, which means I need to go and buy some stuff for the mop. And oh my gosh, I can't just mop that part. I have to mop the whole house. And to mop the whole house, it means I'm going to have to get all the things off the ground, which means I have to go to the store and buy some boxes. Where am I going to put the boxes? I'll have to rent a storage unit, right? And there is a very clear lily pad train from where you were to where you got. But most people don't see the world that way. You know, I like to call it galaxy brain. You start on Earth, but you end up in the galaxy. Like, you know, and what that does is it makes the task seem bigger than it is. You know, one of the kids I work with, like, he was trying to apply for a job. He's like, well, to apply for a job, I need to redo my resume, and then I need to get letters of recommendation, and then I need to go to the store, and I need to buy a suit, and I need to buy a new tie, and get a haircut. And I'm like, dude, just first off, you click the application to see if it's a job you want. Like, you don't need to buy a new suit until they grant you an interview. You can't put the cart before the horse here, right? You've got to let the things play out as they will. But because organization is so challenging for us, it makes us more anxious. When we're more anxious, we get yanked to the future and we're solving problems that don't exist yet. So then that drains us and makes us less effective in the present and stresses us out more. And then we either start and don't stop and don't finish, or never start and then beat ourselves up for never starting.
Yeah, I just love the lily pad because you just explained 3 clients I visited yesterday, and it's like, okay, so tell me about these whites here. And they start and they jump. And then I'm like, oh, yes, I get it. Whereas they would say, oh, in the past, people would be just like, and just get over it type thing is the attitude. Whereas I'll go, okay, so let's go to the end and start to fix that part so that we can get to this part. That was just perfect how you explained it. So thank you for that. I'm sure there'll be people who resonate and go, thanks. There's someone who understands my brain and gets why. Because a lot of people don't understand why. They just can say, I just can't start, but I don't know why.
Well, and one of the exercises that I like to do with people when I talk about executive functioning is I'll say, all right, guys, here's my thumb. What I want you, when I say go, start looking at my thumb. When you're bored and looking at my thumb, say stop, right? And what you find is that most people are able to start looking at my thumb. Most people say stop immediately because my thumb is not very exciting. But there are some people who can't stop. They're like, no, I have to keep looking at the thumb. And there's some people like, that's so boring, I'm not even going to look at your thumb. I remember I was doing this exercise at a conference, and a guy shouted out to me, he's like, this is dumb, I'm just going to play on my phone. Right? And it's like, of course it is. Like, of course it's dumb. And of course your phone's more exciting than my thumb, because my thumb is my thumb. It's not very exciting. But it demonstrates there are 3 levels to executive functioning, and we need to be able to intervene at all 3. Starting, sustaining, and stopping.
Yeah, that's great. Another great example. So what's some tips then that you would give people to help them with organizing then, or getting started?
Of course, the big deal is that you have to do what we call bottom-up thinking, right? So we tend to do top-down thinking, which is, my house is not organized, I won't be happy until it is organized. Past tense, right? But it is really hard to organize all of a thing at once, right? So what you have to do is, and then even if you followed through that way, and if you got 90% of organizing your house done, you're going to be bummed because you didn't finish that last 10%. Still a couple of boxes, right? So if we switch to bottom-up thinking, it's aspirational and it's cumulative. You add stuff as you go. So it's like, yeah, I want to get my whole house done today. Today I'm just going to deal with this closet. I got this closet done. That part is checked off. I've walked up 3 steps on the flight of stairs. Tomorrow I'm going to try and walk up 2 more flights of stairs. It changes the scope and timeline of the task. Because then if you get it done at a reasonable pace, what you're going to find is that the things you do reinforce you continuing to go, and it's a behavioral momentum thing. Rather than like, if the only way you're going to be happy is completely completing the task, then there's only one outcome that makes you happy. And that sets you up to fail.
Yeah, definitely. And that's another reason why I like helping people, say, for 2 hours a week, maybe fortnightly or weekly, because you really see that improvement over time compared to if we're just going in like today, I'm going in for 6 hours to organize a house, which that's different. It's unpacking boxes. So we will see a big difference. But I find with my, and in particular, neurodivergent clients, that doing a little bit each time is so much more beneficial than doing it. It's lasting compared to going in, doing the whole room and then leaving and that's it. It's like you haven't really helped with that behavior change, have you?
Yeah.
So what other tips can people do, practical tips that people could do to actually build that muscle up?
The best thing you can do to make this stuff more successful is to tie doing it to something you're already doing. So, because when the way our brains work when it comes to getting stuff done is our brains don't really want to do it. So we keep putting it off. We send it to what I like to call the magical land of later. I'll just do it later. I'll go to the gym later. I'll clean the dishes later, because we don't want to do it. But if you tie the action to something else you're already going to do, then you don't have to spend energy to opt into it. It becomes a thing you do. I always go to the gym on the way home from dropping off my kids. Right? I drop my kids off at school. On the way home, I stop at the gym. I work out for 45 minutes, come home, take a shower, go to work. Right? I don't ever want to go to the gym, but because it's a step now in the process, I just do it rather than like, if it's like a Saturday afternoon, I've got nothing to do. I could go to the gym right now, but I'm not gonna. I'm like, that's not how my brain works. Right? So if you hate putting away the dishes, then you make sure that you do the dishes as soon as you're done with dinner. Or you do the dishes at 10 o'clock right before you go for bed. Like you tie it to something else, and then your brain doesn't have to choose to do it. Your brain just knows when it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, that's good. That definitely makes a difference, doesn't it? That time, choosing the time for it to happen and tying it to another task that you already are doing. Great tip. So to finish off, what's one thing that you wish that the listeners could do or one thing that listeners could do to be more organized, or one thing that you wish listeners would do?
I mean, I put everything in my phone and I back it up to a virtual calendar that I have. So it's like, I know I'm not going to remember all the things, right? So I put them in my phone with multiple reminders, right? So, when, like, if you and I said, we're going to do part 2 of this podcast in 3 months at this time, I would put it in my phone today, and then I would set a reminder for the day before and an hour before. So the day before I get the reminder, like, oh, right, tomorrow I've got that podcast. And then an hour before, it's like, hey, remember, you've got that podcast. It's like, good. That's great. And because it's easy to dismiss one reminder, it's hard to dismiss 2. One of my colleagues who does a lot of work in this space, he always tells people set 2 timers. If you need to be somewhere at 4 and you need to leave at 3:30 to get there, set an alarm for 3:20 and then 3:22. Because you might dismiss the first one, but then the alarm rings again. You're like, right, I gotta go. And the second one is enough to snap you out of it.
Yeah. And a lot of my clients do that. It's funny when they've, at the end of a session, it'll either be to take medication during my session or it'll be to do something, but it'll be 2 reminders, which, it does, because they always ignore the first one. And then the second one, they go, okay, I've really got to go do this, don't I? And I'm like, yes. But that even reminds me of yesterday. I find, I knew I had a podcast last night at 8:30 last night. My day was ending. I got home And I was like, oh, dinner, just, back into normal routine. And then all of a sudden I got the reminder on my phone and I was like, oh my gosh, I nearly completely forgot. I knew that I was doing it, but just completely forgot, because by the time I got home and back into just your normal routine, and it was the end of the day, my brain has completely been used up. There's not much more there to remember things. And I was like, thank goodness for that reminder. Yes, so definitely reminders is a great tip for people to take away. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing all of your knowledge, Dr. Matt. And I'm sure there's a lot more. How can people connect with you or find you?
So there's two main online presences for me. One is my therapy website, which is the neurodiversitycollective.com. And we do everything from therapy to coaching to IQ testing. And then for the part of my job that's speaking and consulting and outward facing, that's drmattzakreski.com. And I will happily go back to Australia. But, I travel all over the world to help people understand their brains and do better, whether that's at work or at school or in life.
Yeah, no, you definitely have to come back to Australia in summertime for you, wintertime for you. If you're that type of person who'd rather summer, which I am. So, yes, it would be great to have you come here and share your knowledge in Australia.
I'd be thrilled.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me for today's Simply Happy conversation. If you find yourself wasting precious time searching for misplaced items and wishing for a more organised life, then you need my 5-minute declutter ebook, the ultimate guide to quick and easy organising solutions for a clutter-free and happy home. Forget about spending months KonMariing your house. These fun solutions are designed to give you immediate results in under 5 minutes. Head over to Simply Happy in the resource section and download your free copy and start seeing results in minutes. I'd like to acknowledge the Wathaurong people of the Kulin Nation on which this podcast is recorded as the traditional custodians of the land. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging.